Hey, welcome back. What you're looking at is my entry into the Crimson Guitars Great Guitar Build-Off 2021. Up till this moment, this is about an hour and a half's worth of carving and sketching, and my GoPro failed me when I got home, and I had a corrupted chip, and so I had to start the video here using a different camera. And what you see me doing is carving. It's something I don't do very often. I haven't carved in many years, maybe 8 or 9 years since I carved something like this. And it is very difficult if you don't practice. It is really, really hard to get back. And I didn't pick such an easy subject, the human heart. And my subject here is sort of the concept of like this guitar's got heart. And you'll notice when the video's done, I paint the heart only and not the guitar. I leave it wood tone. A few reasons for that. My time is extremely limited. Some of you know that I'm working full-time on a television show, and I'm still actually putting videos out each week. We're working 6 days a week, about 12 to 13 hours a day. And that's why I'm doing this voiceover at 3 a.m. on June 19th, 2021. But all these woodworking tools you see me using, all these chisels, are chisels I've had since I was about 10 years old. My dad purchased them all from the wife of a man who passed away, and they've been in my shop virtually my entire maker's life. And you'll notice some of the techniques that I fell right back into. I like to use an X-Acto quite a bit to get rid of some of the chips. And this is something that I used to do with a big screw-in light bulb, but with this little tiny Lumicube, it really helps life. Helps me sculpt and bring life to the sculpt by throwing a shadow on it. I could really see what I'm doing. And like I said, I picked the human heart, and you can see that vein that comes through the heart I'm trying to carve, and just trying to get the volume. And it's extremely difficult, you know, to try and find an image in space. You know, I'm trying to tell a story with each one of the little chips that I'm taking away, and I'm trying to find the rhythm. It really is about trying to find a rhythm, because you want the whole carving to kind of remain looking the same. And this is a biomorphic image, obviously, the human heart, so I wanted it to be smooth. I wanted it to be in stark contrast to the hard shape of the body. And so you see me doing this. I grab the file, and when I used to carve much more often, you can Google my name and the guitar. So if you Google DiResta and guitar, you see a lot of the guitars I carved in the 90s show up. Some of them attributed to me. They aren't necessarily mine, but you'll see some of them, the Screaming Skull, and a couple of George Lynch copies that I did. I didn't do the original Frog, but I did a lot of copies that show up. And so, like I said, this little subtle vein, I was really taking my time. One thing I noticed is my eyesight is horrible. I could not see what I was doing. I had to eventually start wearing those the glasses that kind of pull down over your glasses. Hey guys, let me take 20 seconds to tell you about a little promotion we're doing. Click the link in the description below. For a limited time, we're giving away free woodworking plans of my 2-drawer toolbox project. We designed this set of plans for the DIY hobbyist woodworker in a step-by-step format, complete with exploded view layouts that make them easy for you to follow. These plans will only be available for a limited time. Click the link in the description and we'll make sure to send them to your inbox. Thank you. Yeah, I started wearing those magnifying glasses. It really helped me, and I could really look up close and see what needed to be filed. And these tools are probably at least 75 years old, many of these tools. And it's so funny because as I picked them up, I remember very specific techniques when I used to carve in the 90s. And these are the tools that I would use. And one of these techniques was outlining everything. I outline everything that I want to carve, and then I sort of decide what's going to be over what's going to be under what. And I had to define this sculpt of this heart. I had to decide how is it going to end? And you know, with my limited time, how could it end? Obviously, it could keep going across the whole body, and I could just keep adding biomorphic images. But I thought maybe it would be interesting if the veins went back into the body, and I'm not sure I achieved that 100%. Doing something like this really makes you feel vulnerable. It's almost like I've said it before on the podcast. It makes you feel like you're standing naked in front of the world when you do something as personal as this, and then you post it in a YouTube video. So I've definitely feeling a bit vulnerable with this one. Um, Also, last year's great guitar build off. If you guys go look at the comments and they were pretty rough. And I also wanted to do a voiceover here just to kind of explain a little bit about my thought process here, and that I wanted to carve something into this guitar. It's a beautiful piece of, I'm assuming it's mahogany or maybe sapele, I'm not sure, provided by Crimson Guitars. Oh, a lot of people ask me how I sharpen these chisels, and I very rarely do I bring a stone to them. Lately, I've been sharpening these, well, in this round's the first time I used them in a while. I sharpen them with Scotch-Brite and then I buff them. Very rarely do I use Scotch-Brite, only if I need to. But that's a gentle way of sharpening them. Scotch-Brite them on the belt, on the Ameribraid belt. And now here I am gluing the neck in. I feel like I've gotten pretty far with the sculpt. My concept was I wanted to do a simple sculpt, something that wouldn't take me forever considering my time is limited. So I thought, let me do a human heart, and it would definitely take me out of my comfort zone, and there's a lot to solve. Carving like this is just problem solving over and over and over again, and getting over the fear of taking too much away, because once you keep carving, and again, I need to get back into it more. Once you keep carving, you develop the skill of, okay, whatever happens, I'm going to turn it into a part of the art. So if you chip off a big chip, you could CA glue it back, but really you got to train yourself and roll with it. Figure out how to use what the mistake is and turn it into part of the drawing. And so I went and I got Aaron ran an errand for me while we were doing the show. We went to Guitar Center. I got these great tuning knobs. These are Fender original tuning knobs, and they're great. They have the lock that come up from the bottom. And I just glued the nut, and the nut definitely needs to be adjusted. There's a lot of adjustments that need to take place on this guitar. And I will be auctioning it off, and whoever wins it, I will provide the guitar set up much better than you see in this video. In fact, I'm going to give it to a professional to set up for me. And where did I get all the parts? I cannibalized another guitar, Schecter, that we went out and bought. And you buy the right guitar, you have everything you need in that. And when I first started playing around with making guitars, that's what I would do when I was a student in college in the 80s. I would just go to Sam Goody. I don't know, is Sam Goody around anymore? I go to Sam Goody and buy a $100 guitar, and I had all the parts I need. And for me, I was really more practicing the art of carving on guitars. So when people say, do you make guitars? I typically say I tattoo guitars is what I always said. I said I don't typically make them. I've made lots of guitars from scratch, but it's not something I'm extremely skilled at. And here I lost a lot of footage because I kept thinking I was starting the camera when I wasn't. So I'm missing the whole soldering aspect of this, which was only limited. I only attempted to film a couple of little bits of soldering because it's obviously super boring. And I never hit record, so that's on me. But it saves you guys the boring footage of watching me solder. But so you see I used Gleam high gloss varnish from Total Boat to paint the heart. That's 3 coats on there. And I think by the time I'm really done off camera, I'll probably give it 1 or 2 more coats. And I left the body unpainted. I tend to like guitars that look beat up, and like Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar, and some of the up-close Jimi Hendrix guitars that just take tons of abuse. And I like this sapele, and what it might look like with a lot of hand oil on it. So whoever gets this guitar, I would hope that they would let it get greasy and dirty, because that's what I like. Greasy and dirty with a lot of heart. No pun intended. Yeah, pun intended. I'm glad I jumped back into carving. I definitely need to exercise my carving skills much more. And I'm not saying I hit the mark 100% on this heart, but one thing I definitely did was get a lot of my skills back, and definitely need more practice. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this voiceover video. Thank you, Crimson Guitars.